Financial Freedom featuring Stuart Ritter from T. Rowe Price. We're really excited to have you all here today. It's going to be a really great hour. We're really happy you all came. If you haven't signed in already, the attendance form is on the left. Please scan that right now. And then if you are not already in CFMA, can I get a show of hands? How many of you are not in CFMA yet? All right. So the grouping code is on the right. We do a lot of personal finance events throughout the course of the semester. Similar to guest speaker events, we also hold workshops and different talks in personal finance. Some workshops we hold this semester are in investing and credit cards and also mutual funds as well. So we're having, our meetings are Tuesdays from 5 to 6. But we also have events outside of that time like this one, so make sure you're in that group me. I'm going to give a brief introduction on Stuart. Stuart is a financial planning professional. He is a vice president at T. Rowe Price and retirement insights leader. And he's a renowned guest speaker. He's been quoted by all of the major news media outlets. So I'm really happy y'all were able to come here today and learn from him. Can we give a round of applause?
All right, it's working. I'm going to swap some tech out here. I want to start with an apology. I got vaccinated and boosted. I got COVID back in July, and it's still with me. It sucks. I'm going to be coughing through this presentation. That's what my apology is for. I'm going to do my best to not make that too distracting. I have pockets full of cough drops. I'll probably go through each one of them. But when you see me, put something in there, that's what's going on. The other thing, Mary, and thank you for the opportunity to be here, the other thing Mary didn't mention is that I went to school here. I got my degree here. Took a horse and buggy to class and back every day, uphill in the snow, both ways. There was this new thing coming out at the time. Maybe you guys have heard of it. It's called the personal computer. You thought I was saying it. No, I'm even older than that. But over the course of my career, I've had the opportunity to come back a number of times, even had a chance to teach class in the Robert H. Smith School of Business. So I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to come back here. Mary and I met when she was part of a high school encounter program that we put together at T. Rowe Price to give people the opportunity to learn what the company is about. And now I have the chance to share with you what I've learned over the course of a number of years. First starting out, my degree here was in electrical engineering. Yeah, I was excited as you are. I graduated from Maryland and I worked for 2 years as an electrical engineer. And then I went back to graduate school. So I had the rather unique opportunity to know how much money I had in the bank when I graduated, zero. I worked for 2 years, and then I went back to graduate school, and I got done earning an income. And I knew how much money I had when I went back to graduate school, zero. And the reason I got involved in personal finance is this. Nope, still can't find it. I'm missing $120,000. If anybody sees it on the sidewalk outside or anything, please let me know. That's a real number. That's the amount of money, inflation adjusted it, so it'll be $120,000 now. That is the amount of money I earned from the time I graduated from the University of Maryland and went back to graduate school. $120,000. And to this day, I don't have the slightest idea what I spend that money on. It's $120,000. It's not like it rolled into the cushions of the couch. Now, some of it went to rent, some of it went to gas, some of it went for haircuts. Thank you for not laughing. But I really, really don't know how on earth I spent $120,000 over the course of 2 years. And it bugged the heck out of me. So once I left engineering and I got a master's degree and jobs after that, I went to the other end of it. I said, okay, let me start tracking this stuff. Let me understand what this whole personal finance thing is about. What is the whole personal finance, investing, retirement piece involved with? And that's what I want to share with you today. The agenda I put together, we're going to talk about defining a financial goal. What is a financial goal? We'll talk about how to prioritize it, and we'll spend most of our time talking about how to achieve a financial goal. I was just telling Mary before we started, I actually shortened the presentation to leave time at the end to answer questions. So I will stay here as long as you want, however much time it takes, all the way up to about 7:49 p.m. when the parking meter runs out, and I'm sure that hasn't changed in how they treat that here at Maryland. So, despite the fact that I have no idea where my $120,000 went, it all worked out pretty okay. That's my wife on the right. We've been married 28 years now. Yeah, I don't understand why she picked me and stuck around that long either. Those are my three kids, it's Samantha in the middle, Nathaniel on the left, and Colleen on the right. So despite the fact that I don't know how much I spent on haircuts when I graduated from University of Maryland, life turned out okay. But I feel much more confident about the decisions I'm making because now I do know where my money goes, and I've got a better idea of how to make the most of it, how to make good decisions. And that's what I'm hoping you're taking away today. Mary talked about the other presentation topics that you've got, mutual funds, investing, credit card, all of that will allow you to avoid my situation of not knowing what the heck happened to all of that money. So let's talk about defining a financial goal. And a financial goal, very simply, is something you want from life that requires money. And it's that last word in there that makes it a financial goal. There may be lots of things you want from life, but if you want something from life that requires money, and it could be big stuff, I want to retire someday. It could be smaller stuff, spring break vacation, replacing an iPhone, having lunch tomorrow. All those are financial goals. They all require money in order to make it happen. That's the definition of a financial goal. There are three components to the financial goal. You need to write down all three of these. Number one, what are you saving for? I'm saving to go out with my friends this weekend. That's okay. I'm a certified financial planner. I know more thinking. I'm going to say all spending is bad. All saving is good. You should live at home in the dark and eat nothing but ramen noodles. Totally not true. Macaroni and cheese is an acceptable substitute if you need it. No, go out and live your life. But make sure you're living the one you want by figuring out what it is you want to spend your money on. Every other person in this room is going to want to spend their money on something else. The worst thing you can do is decide what you want to spend your money on by looking at what other people are spending their money on. Oh, that's a nice car, and I like those clothes, and that person went on a cool vacation, and this person is living by themselves in an apartment, I want that too, and that's how people get themselves in trouble. Instead of thinking internally, what's important to me, and focusing on that, they look externally and say, okay, what's everybody else doing? I have to impress everybody else, so I'm going to try to buy all that stuff as well. The second thing is, when do you want to buy it? Some stuff you're going to buy this weekend, some stuff you won't buy until next week, some stuff you won't buy for decades in the future. And this will matter when we get to the investing. And lastly, what will it cost when you want to buy it? My oldest is 17 years old, so I'm looking at the cost of college. My initial assumption was it'll be about what I paid when I went to the University of Maryland here, which is, I don't know, $2,000. Is that going to cover it? Will I cover textbooks for one semester for a single class? Maybe if I'm getting close, let me know. Let me know. So when we started saving for our college education, do we care what college costs back in the horse and buggy days? Or do we need to anticipate what it's going to take to pay for college when she goes to school next year? Okay, that's down. Holy cow. They just keep adding zeros in the end. It's a little scary. But that's part of doing the right planning. So if you're planning to buy a car, it's not what the car costs today. It's what it's going to cost when you want to buy it. Excuse me, what is that? It's next year, 3 years, or 5 years out. Write all three things down. That's your definition of a financial goal. And you'll have a bunch of them. Have a look at some of these. Here are some examples. Out with friends on Friday. Excuse me, and I know it's bad with the microphone when I do that, I apologize. Out with friends on Friday. Buy a car, or at least a down payment in 4 years. Buy a house in 7 years. What do? If despite the fact that the math says all of these are $300 a month, you only have $700 a month to put towards them. That's where the prioritizing comes into place. And some of you are going to decide having money for a car is more important than going out with my friends. Some of you will do what I did when I was in school here, which is to avoid making friends, and then I had money left over to do other things. It works really well when it comes to weddings. You guys have probably done a couple of years of that, where everybody's getting married and inviting you, and it's a big party and celebration, but it costs money. I just made sure I didn't have any friends at that night. I didn't get invited to anything. It's an option. You can do that. Or you can say, you know what, this is part of my lifestyle. This is what I want to do. So, okay, I'm going out with friends every Friday. And I'm going to put money down for a car. I'm going to wait longer to buy a house. Somebody else is going to say the house is more important. You decide for you which one is the biggest priority. And that's the second component of this. How do you prioritize? And it's not that hard. It's not that big a deal. You have the skills. So let's do a little thought experiment. Saturday afternoon, and you have a major personal finance meeting to go to. And it's that Ritter guy who's your professor. You know it's going to be hard on your time. So, a couple friends stop by and say they're going to a concert that you are really interested in going to. Here's your dilemma. The concert would take the rest of Saturday. And because you missed your normal 9:30 bedtime Saturday night, it would probably take up most of Sunday. So you have a choice to make, don't you? Here are your options. We've known each other for 18 minutes now, so be honest with me. How many of you would go to the concert? Okay. Honest answer. How many of you would stay in and study? Excellent. Honest answer. How many of you would choose the third option of studying at the concert? Yeah, there's only one or two, right? Yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm bringing organic chemistry with me to the concert, and I'm going to enjoy both of them simultaneously. That is the height of my.
Study in the car right there and back.
There you go. All right, so we're getting creative. We're figuring this out. Because the car ride back, you're going to be in the right state of mind to do some serious studying. All right, same scenario. This is what happens when you've got a choice to make between studying and the concert. Same scenario, I'm only going to change one thing. It is Saturday afternoon, and you're looking forward to buying the eye gadget that you've had your eye on for some time. A couple friends stop by and say they're going to a concert. It's one you really want to attend. Concert would cost as much as the eye gadget. Here are your three options. How many of you would go to the concert? Excellent, excellent. How many of you would buy the eye gadget? How many of you would do both? Notice what just happened. Notice the fact that there was absolute silence in the room when I put up that third option. What happened on the previous slide when I put up the third option? What did everybody in the room do? You guys laughed. Study at the concert? That's a ludicrous idea. You pick one or the other. You can't do both. But what I do with something that takes money, suddenly there's no laughing. Suddenly it's something that, yeah, I can manage, but here's my question. If I want to buy something and I don't have any actual money to buy it, how can I still purchase it? What can I do if I don't have any money to purchase the item? Anyone?
You can use the bank's money, so use your credit card.
Anybody have one of these magical little cards? Oh my God, aren't they amazing? Yeah, right? Yeah, absolutely. I was standing in the grocery store when my now 17-year-old was 7 years old. And she looks at me and says, Daddy, can I have my own credit card, please? Let me check the parenting book on this one. Nope, not covered. Samantha, why do you want a credit card? And she said, because whenever you go into a store, all you have to do is show them the credit card, and you can have whatever you want. Like, oh my God, you cracked the code. And there are far too many grown-ups that think that's how this thing works. If I use this to buy something, what happens next? What am I really doing? Pushing the payment to later. As you alluded to, I am borrowing the credit card company's money. They are promising to pay the merchant. The merchant says, here you go. We know we're going to get our funds. I am spending my own future income when I use one of these. I am deciding today that whoever I'm going to be in the future, whatever money I have then, I can't spend all of it. Because I already spent some of it with the magicianal magic credit card where I can buy whatever I want. When it comes to making trade-offs, if you're making a trade-off with time, it's forced upon us, not counting the car ride to and from the concert. How many of you have ever been to a movie theater where they're showing like 8 movies at the same time? How many of you run from theater to theater the entire time you're there, trying to watch all 8 movies? You know, you sit in one theater and you watch one movie. You prioritize. Of the 8, this is the one I'm watching. Because with time, it's forced upon us. With money, we have to provide that discipline. And there are far too many people who fake it. I like his clothes, and her car, and his vacation, and where he's living. And since I can only buy 2 of those, I'm going to pull this out. And the magic's going to happen. Now, when we borrow money from a credit card company, there are 2 really annoyingly obnoxious things that they do. When you borrow money from them, what's the first thing they want you to do?
Pay it by the due.
Pay it back! Yes! Oh my God, that is so annoying. Look, my parents will give me money and I don't have to pay them back. I don't have to pay the credit card company back. What's the second thing they do that's really annoying? Interest. So if the item costs $50, I have made the decision, if I don't pay it off in full every month, I have made the decision to buy that $50 item for $60. I am a financial genius. And that $60 is going to come from my own future self. So if my own future self says, hey, I want to go to a concert this weekend, you have to look at it and go, oh, well, the person I was 3 months ago already decided that I can't go anymore. And a lot of people fall into the trap of not really understanding what these things are about. The entire time. Decide what's important and do that. Don't fake it with the credit card. Wait until you have the money first, then buy it. All right, let's talk about achieving financial goals. I'm going to pause briefly, start going through my stockpile of cough drops. I will later on tell you, don't invest in any single company. You need to invest in a variety of companies. But right now, if you want to invest in whatever company manufactures these things, let me tell you, their revenue has been a lot higher in the last 2 months. All right, achieving financial goal. 3 decisions you have to make. And I don't care if this is going out with friends on Friday, or the house you want to buy in 7 years, or saving for retirement, so you have the money then. 3 decisions you need to make. How much to save, what account to use, and how to invest it. And these are in descending order of importance. One of the mistakes a lot of people make is they go, right cash and invest my money. Let me give you an example of how this doesn't work. Let's talk about how much to save. But first, I want to talk about my problem with the gym. I go to the gym on a regular basis, or at least I did before I had this whole COVID thing going on. I allocate my time to doing weight bearing and cardio exercises. When I'm doing weight bearing exercises, I diversify my bicep curls, very important. Diversify your bicep. Sometimes I go like this, and sometimes I go like this. And I'll be honest with you, the results haven't been what I expected them to be. And you all look like a fit bunch. I'm hoping you have some input for me that would help me be healthier, achieve my health goals in terms of what I can do at the gym better. Maybe it's this, or maybe it's this. And the other thing I should mention is, when I go to the gym, I go for 6 minutes. So show of hands, should I do my bicep curls like this? Is that going to solve my problem? I'm not going to stand here. It's a weird echo. Okay, so everybody's thinking I'm going to solve my problems by doing bicep curls like this? I got no hands. What? You want me to do bicep curls like this? I don't even know what muscle I'm working at this point. What could I do differently that might make things better? More consistently. So you want me to go to the gym for 6 minutes, 5 days a week instead of 4. So that's it. I can't do the percentage in my head. It's like a 20% increase in gym time. That'll do it. Yes, sir. Other ideas?
Longer than 6 minutes.
Longer than, oh my God, are you kidding? Did you not see the picture of my kids? You know how busy my household is? So the laws of physics should not apply to me because I have 3 children, right? So I should be able to get in 6 minutes when it takes other people 30 or 40 minutes to do. My body doesn't care. I need to be there for more than 6 minutes. It doesn't matter whether I'm going like this or like this. The number one driver of how effective my time in the gym is going to be is how long my you-know-what is in there doing something. The biggest driver of your ability to achieve a financial goal is how much you save. We'll talk about a lot of other things. And a 20% increase in how much you save is going to make a huge difference. So when you're thinking about how to achieve a financial goal, a lot of people skip over that part. This is because it requires some sacrifice. If I'm in the gym for 40 minutes instead of 6, that's what, 24, 34, I don't know. I can't do the math. It's a whole bunch of time that I am not sitting on the couch watching something on TV. I have to put more effort in. And that's where people get lost. They look beyond how much to save. When it comes to retirement, if you get nothing else out of this presentation, I want you to remember the number 15%. When you're leaving here and you bump into your roommate or friend as you're walking across campus, and they say, well, you went to the sing tonight, how'd it go? You're going to say 2 things. Well, they had free food, which is the real reason I showed up. I mean, let's be honest, right? And the other thing I remember is 15%. When I save for retirement, I need to be saving 15%. If my employer happens to be throwing in some money, if my employer is putting in 5%, all right, who can do the math for me? I need a total of 15% going in. My employer's putting in 5. How much do I have to put in?
10.
Woo! Well done. Such a sharp crew you got here. I'm impressed. That's what needs to be going into your retirement account from the first job. My daughter Samantha got a job at Tropical Smoothie Cafe. I'm like, okay, this is one of those fast food things, whatever, can't be too much money into it in it. And then I remember last college bowl season. I was like, okay, they got the Tropical Smoothie Cafe bowl, and the Smoothie King bowl, and the something else smoothie bowl. I'm like, how much money are we all spending on smoothies that all these people can sponsor college football bowls? Must be enough. But I sat down with her and said, all right, honey, this is where it comes down. She's like, Dad, God, just stop talking to me. I hate when you do the lecturing. I'm like, that's nice, but I'm your parent. That's the price you pay. Here we go. We're opening up a retirement plan for you. Guess how much of the money you're earning we're going to put into the account. She said 15%. She's been hearing that poor girl since she was 4 years old. Maybe the first time you're hearing it, that's what I want you to remember. When you get your first job, and they say, we have a retirement plan, how much do you want to put in it? You say back to them, how much are you going to put in it? And then make the total be 15%. That's the number you write down on the line or fill in on the screen. That's the one thing I want you to get out of here. Because all the other decisions you make, if I'm in the gym for 40 minutes, whether I'm doing the bike or the elliptical, whether I'm doing my bicep curls like this or like this, it's going to have a big effect because I'm doing it for so long. If I put in too little, it doesn't matter. How much are you going to save? Now, I've talked about trade-offs. We've talked about credit cards. So let me ask you a credit card debt question. Federal Reserve goes out every couple of years, surveys people, and says, do you carry a balance on your credit card? And what that means is, I use my credit card somewhere, so credit card company agrees to pay the merchant, I borrow their money, I get a bill from the credit card company that says, okay, this is what you need to pay us this month. And carrying a balance means I pay something less than what the total amount is that I charge. So if the credit card company says you borrowed $250 of our money this month, and I write a check for anything less than $250, or set up the online payment, that's carrying a balance. So my question to all of you is, what percentage of American families have carried a balance on their credit card in any month over the last 12 months? Multiple choice. How many of you say A? 62% of American families carry a balance on their credit cards. B, 74% carry a balance on their credit cards. C, 83%. D, 91%. How many of you think it's a trick question? It's actually higher than 91%. Yeah, fair enough. The actual answer to this question, percentage of families that carry a balance on their credit card, what the? You know what that means, don't you? It means more than half of American families pay off their entire credit card balance in full every month and have been doing so every month over the last year. And this statistic has held solid since 1989. Do you know how long ago 1989 was? That was the year I graduated from the University of Maryland. That's like centuries. So my question to you is, why did everybody in the room think it was north of 80% of people carrying a balance, when it's actually only 44% of people? Any ideas why?
I assume that everyone is educated on financial literacy.
Not everybody may be educated on financial literacy, but why did most people in here think that pretty much everybody carries a balance on their credit card? Who's majoring in marketing? Any marketers in here? I got one. I got one in the back. What do marketers do? Put you on the spot, I know. Try to provide value to help sell the product. And one of the ways they do that is give people an impression of how many other people are using the product. The reason everybody thinks it's this high is because Visa and MasterCard have a larger marketing budget than I do. And as human beings, if I think everybody else is doing something, I'm way more likely to do it myself. The one statistic that always sticks in my mind is if you ask heavy drinkers on college campuses how much other people drink, they always estimate it at a higher level than it actually is. Part of the reason we're driven to behave the way we do is because other people, we think other people are doing it. So if I can convince you everybody else is carrying a balance on their credit card, you are more likely to do so as well. And why would I want to do that? Why would I want to convince you that everybody else is carrying a balance? Yes, sir? Yeah, because then as the credit card company, I get more interest. I make more money. If you pay off your balance every month, I I don't get any interest payment. I don't have any revenue. So I convince you that everybody else is doing it, you're more likely to do it yourself. So I'm here to tell you the norm is paying off your credit card in full every month. If you are not doing it, if your parents are not doing it, it means they're in the minority. And you need to rethink how you're managing your money. All right, here we go. Blank screen. This is one of my favorite slides, not just because it's completely blank. But Bureau of Labor Statistics goes out every couple of years and asks people, what do you spend your money on? And they get really detailed. What do you spend? How much do you spend on dairy products and motor oil? And they put them in categories. And what you have on your screen are the top 2 categories and then the third section. So my question to you is, what is the #1 spending category across all age groups? When I'm talking 20-year-olds or people 75 plus. This box is the same thing. What is the #1 spending category, regardless of how old people are? Yes, sir. I'm sorry? Needs? I'm looking for something actual, a category that you spend your money on. Yes? Housing? Other guesses? Food? Other ideas? Internet? Debt? Way in the back? Transportation? All right, who's the gentleman who said housing? Good for you. #1 expense is housing. 1/3 of your spending will go to housing. On average. That's what the Bureau of Labor Statistics has figured out. And that's been a steady number for decades as well. Housing's #1. What's #2? Transportation. I got 2 transportations for 1 and 2. Any other ideas? Food? All right, you guys already got it. Second category, 15% of spending, is transportation. And the third category is everything else. Here's what this means. The decision you make about your housing situation and your transportation situation comprise 50% of all of your spending and dictate what you have available to spend on every other aspect of your life. Food, entertainment, clothing, internet, travel, all those other things are driven by your decision in these top 2 categories. It drives me bananas when I read an article about how Gen Z or millennials or whatever generation can save money, stop buying your coffee. And it's true. If you stop buying coffee outside the home, you can reduce the current joy in your life by 80 to 90%. That's a given. But that's a teeny tiny piece of everything on the right. The big rock is right here. Make a very thoughtful decision about what your housing costs are and your transportation costs, and that gives you a lot more flexibility in the other areas. This is where the prioritization comes in. And this is why it's so important. Now, should you maybe spend less on coffee? I don't know. That's your priority? No, you shouldn't. The story I always tell is that my wife and I have been married 28 years, and we have had a cleaning service for 27 and a half of those years. Now, we met in graduate school. So not only were we poor as undergrads, we decided to maintain that poorness when we got to graduate school. And then we graduate, and since my wife is smarter than me, better looking than me, I have no idea why I'm there, she went on to get a PhD. So we've got one salary, we're paying PhD prices at George Washington University. And we were paying for a cleaning service. Now, if you look from the outside, that is probably one of the stupidest decisions financially we could make. But here's what was going on. We are incredibly compatible. I just agree with her and it all works. But the one area where we were constantly fighting was about cleaning the apartment. Now, we lived in a 1-bedroom apartment when we got out of graduate school. And when I was working in She was going for her PhD. Every Saturday we fight each other. I'm like, look, you and I just busted our butts for the entire week. It's a weekend. We want to relax. We should go out and do something fun. And she was always like, no, we need to clean the apartment. And we would fight about it every Saturday. And at one point, her mom said, you know what you guys should do? You should get a cleaning service. We had no money. Well, what do you mean cleaning service? Like, hey, it's cheaper than couples therapy and a divorce lawyer. I mean, it's kind of getting to that point. So in our household, we prioritize cleaning service up here. If everything goes south, we lose the house, and we have to live in a pup tent in a campsite. Once a week, there's going to be a cleaning service coming in and cleaning out that pup tent. And once we got that cleaning service, everything was fine. So there's no right or wrong answer of you should get a cleaning service or you should not. You should have a cup of coffee or you shouldn't. It's about your priorities and your decisions. And as a CFP, Certified Financial Planner, I'm not here to judge anybody. So if someone says, this is what we're going to do, if it fits within the budget, if it's prioritized, if you're spending more there and less somewhere else and it all works, that's for you to decide. Not for somebody to come to us and say, no, you shouldn't have a cleaning service. I like my wife. I like being married to her. This is working. I don't want to mess with it. Top 2 categories, housing and transportation. So, if you want to make this all work, you can get what you want, and it's about doing a little bit less and a little bit more of things. Few choices are all or nothing. So watch the movie at home instead of going to the theater, ordering out, but do it one night instead of 3, or 3 instead of 8, or 8 instead of, stop when I get to your number, 8 instead of 11, 11 instead of, nobody's raised their hand yet, I'm getting scared. Used car versus new car. Let me show you how this works. And it's just an example of one car. You buy a car new, and you compare it to the price of that car 1 year old. And that's what it costs to own that first year of the car. And you take a 1-year-old car and a 2-year-old car, you subtract those prices, that's what it costs to buy the second year of the car. And I did this analysis, and here's what I discovered. The cost of owning a car for years 1 and 2 is higher than the cost of owning the cars for years 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 combined. So you and your friend graduate from the University of Maryland College Park, they go right out, buy a new car. You wait 2 years. You take the bus. They laugh at you. 2 years later, you buy a 2-year-old car. At that point, you are driving identical vehicles. And the only other difference between you is that you have $12,000 that they don't. So it's not you can't have a car, it's buying a 2-year-old car instead of a brand new car. Here's the conundrum we face. Spending is visible and tangible. I can see what house somebody lives in the car they're driving, and what vacation they went on, but saving and debt are hidden and intangible. How many of you know exactly how much student loan debt somebody else in the room has? You don't. You can't see it. How many of you know exactly what clothes somebody else in the room is wearing? Yeah, okay, all right. A sweatshirt over here, a t-shirt over there. That's easy. But people will look at what they see and make some assumptions about it. The second part of this is what account to use. In the interest of time, I'm going to shrink this down. When you're saving for retirement, consider a Roth. It doesn't even matter whether you know what that is or not. When you get the opportunity to save for retirement, they're going to have 2 options, traditional and Roth. They're going to say 15%, and I want you to consider a Roth. There we go. And now, the investment strategy. I'll wrap this section up, and we'll take some questions. Before we get to it, though, 100 people surveyed, top 10 answers on the board. I want you to name a sport. And there's a particular sport's name that I'm listening for, and I'll let you know when I guess. Just shout out the names of different sports.
Football.
Basketball.
Baseball.
Swimming.
Cricket.
the time, and nobody ever shouts out professional wrestling. How come no one shouts out professional wrestling? If professional wrestling is not a sport, what is it? Entertainment. Now, to be a professional wrestler, you have to have a high level of athleticism. You cannot lift a 300-pound person above your head, crash both of you to the ground, and not injure anybody unless you know exactly what you're doing. But nobody out here mistakes that for sport. It's entertainment. Be honest with me. How many of you have watched professional wrestling? Yeah, okay, we're being entertained. We know that when we're having that experience. Let's talk about an investment strategy that literally hundreds of thousands of people across the country use every day. EGBYOT. Who can tell me what EGBYOT is? Incredibly popular investment strategy. Anyone? EGBYOT is 8 bald guys yelling on TV. And I make fun of them because I fit all the characteristics and I am not on TV. I'm a guy, I'm yelling, I'm a guy, and yeah, there are a lot of people flip on TV. Okay, this bald guy's yelling about that, this one's yelling about the other thing. Here's something to understand. They're not always bald. Sometimes they're not a guy. But you'll notice they are always yelling. And why are they yelling? They want to make it exciting. It's entertainment. It is not actual investment advice. It is entertainment. Instead of EBGYOT, here's the approach you should be taking. Oh God, here come those boring words. Mix stocks and bonds and short-term investments, and you should diversify, implement your strategy. Okay, those are the big CFP words that I'm required by federal law to actually say. But let's look at them in turn. Mix of stocks and bonds simply means you're making a decision about how much growth and how much short-term stability your portfolio has. And there's a direct trade-off. The more you have in stocks, the higher your average return, but also the less short-term stability you have. And just like a seesaw, you can decide, I want more short-term stability, but it means you decrease the growth potential in your portfolio. So how do you decide what the right balance is? Here's one way to think about it. It's time horizon. It's why I asked you, when are you going to buy whatever it is you're going to buy? If we're talking retirement, and you're not spending that money until you're age 65, let me do the math because the numbers are so huge at this point. It is essentially half a century before some of you are going to use the money for retirement. If it's going to be that long, what happens in the stock market for the next 3 days or 3 weeks or even 3 years is completely irrelevant because you're not using the money for 40, 50 years. So, go for the big growth, don't worry about short-term stability. If, on the other hand, you have a shorter time horizon, and all of this is subject to other things like risk tolerance and personal circumstances, you have a shorter time horizon, then you want less in stocks and more in bonds. You'll see as people get closer to retirement and move into retirement, there's less orange and more blue. It's the trade-off. It's the seesaw. You can't have both. There are a bunch of people going out there, all right, I want high growth, but then no short-term volatility whatsoever. It's a trade-off. Two sides of the seesaw. They can't both be up at the same time. Diversify, what the heckerdoodles does that mean? It means you don't buy a single stock. Because if you buy a single stock, the potential reward is not worth the added risk. On average, stocks are going to have a certain return. If you buy one stock, you have no idea which side of that average you're going to be on. If something bad happens to that specific stock or that specific category, you're out of luck. And remember, every time you're purchasing a stock, Somebody else is selling the stock. You're buying because you think it's going to go up. They're selling it because they think it's going to go down. And each of you thinks the other guy's completely wrong. But only one of you gets to be wrong, and only one of you gets to be right. And if you pick the wrong side of that equation, you're in trouble. Because we don't know what company is going to run into a problem, you manage that random risk by buying different kinds of companies and many companies of each kind. So you don't just buy one airline, you buy lots of different airlines. And you don't just buy airlines generally, you buy lots of different kinds of companies in lots of different kinds of sectors. One of the ways to do that, as Mary said, you'll have the opportunity to learn about is something called mutual fund, where for a relatively small amount of money, you pool your money with a whole bunch of other people, and you buy a basket of lots and lots and lots of stocks. It doesn't mean that'll protect you against the market going down or guarantee you a profit. What it does mean is you will end up with something that's far below the average because you guessed wrong on an individual stock. So, of the amount you have in stocks, here's one way you'd have large U.S. companies, small U.S. companies, and international companies. For bonds, you'd have different kinds of bonds. And lastly, how are we going to implement this? All right, I actually need your help on this next slide. It's something I've been using for a number of years, but I don't think it works anymore. So I know I joke a lot, but this one's serious. How many of you can drive a stick shift car, a manual transmission car? How many of you even know how a manual transmission car works? A few more hands. How many of you, if I pointed you and said, explain to the room how a manual transmission car works, would not want me to be pointing at you? That's a lot of people. All right, I'm going to skip this one. The concept is you can either build a portfolio on your own, or you can buy a portfolio that's already put together for the goal and the time horizon that you have. So, still buying lots of different stocks or bonds. Could be a mutual fund, could be an exchange traded fund. There are lots of ways to get the basket. The point is, you want to be doing something that's giving you a lot of good things. And the final point I want to make before I take the questions is, whatever plan you put together, whether it's for retirement, or saving for a house, or saving for a car, once you have that plan in place, stick to the plan. I want to talk about this more, but first, I want to talk about little kids playing soccer. Daniel's been playing soccer since he was 4 years old. How many people in this room at some point in their lives played soccer? How many people in this room at some point in their lives were a little kid? I'm just making sure everybody's still awake. All right, here's how it works with little kids playing soccer. They go out in the field, they get spot. Okay, this is where mom, dad, and coach told me to be. They have every intention of being there. And then what happens? The whistle blows, the ball moves, and the yelling starts. There's the ball, there's the ball, there's the ball. Everybody's excited about the ball. They're talking about the ball. Everyone's running around the ball. So, this is little kids playing soccer. And there's one poor little boy over here, or girl, who's saying, okay, but I'm supposed to be over here, but wherever I am is really boring. Everybody's talking about that other stuff over there. So eventually they run to the ball. As soon as they run to the ball, where does the ball go? Where they used to be. And what do all the little kids do when that ball moves around? Here we go. They're just chasing that ball around the field. There we go. Keeps eluding them. Those silly little kids playing soccer. Let's talk about how far too many grown-ups invest their money. They put in an asset allocation together. They figure out how to be diversified. They have every intention of holding on to that plan. But what happens? The bell rings and the yelling starts. Ooh, meme stocks, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, gold, real estate. I've been around a long time, folks. Internet, energy stocks, foreign stocks, blah, 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 blah. And what did far too many adults do with their money? Zoink! And it says energy stocks just because I got tired of changing it every 3 weeks because there was always something that somebody, bald guy on TV was yelling about. And then it moves. And then people run after the ball. That is no way to put a strategy together. Once you've put your strategy together, stick with the plan. The U.S. women's national team is not ranked #1 in soccer because all 10 players except for the goalkeeper run around the field chasing after the ball. They know what their positions are supposed to be and they maintain those positions. So if you want to be able to achieve your financial goal, decide what's more and less important to you. Save the right amount because it is the biggest driver of your success. Find your missing money. Don't be like me. Oh my God, I still wake up at night going, $100 and how many $1,000 and I don't know where it went? I know it didn't all go to haircuts. That's the only thing I've come to the conclusion about. Use a tax advantage account. Follow an appropriate investment strategy, time horizon. Drive what your mix of stocks and bonds is. Diversify, implement, and stick to your plan. And if you do these, you're putting yourself on track to achieve your financial goals. Thank you very much. All right. What else do you want to know? Yes, sir.
What's a tax advantage account?
What's a tax advantaged account? I know I skipped over that part. I apologize. For retirement, we're talking about a 401k, which your employer offers, or an IRA, which is something you can open up on your own. Those are the two big tax advantage types of accounts if you're saving for retirement. And you have a pre-tax option and a Roth option within each of those. So it ends up being 4 different things that you can choose from. And what it does is, instead of you giving your money to the government in taxes today, they let you keep some of that for a while, and or you don't pay taxes when you make a withdrawal, and you meet all the requirements to do that. You pay less in taxes, it's more money for you to spend on the things you want to spend on. Other questions?
Apart from retirement accounts, is there any other like tax advantage accounts?
Apart from retirement accounts, are there any other tax advantage accounts? The only other ones that generally out there are for college savings. So how many of you know that your parents have a 529 plan to help pay for your college? That's the way to save for college. But unless you have kids now that you're saving for their college, which I'm assuming you haven't started on that part yet, that one doesn't apply. Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Let's say someone already has a Roth IRA, so they get a job with a yearly salary, should they also get a 401k? At some point you can't contribute.
Yes, so the question is, if I have a Roth IRA already, way to go, and I start a job and my employer is offering a Roth option, can I have both? And the answer is yes. So there are requirements about how much money you can make. At some point, hopefully, you will actually make so much money you're not allowed to contribute to a Roth IRA. I'm trying to figure out where I can stand and stuff with feedback. But if you do get a job with an employer and the employer offers a Roth option within their 401k plan, you can open up that account and contribute to that account. And they let you contribute way more than what you might contribute to an IRA. So most people at the end of their career, if they have to consolidate, end up with a bunch of different retirement accounts. Like I want the old employer and an IRA that I opened, and somewhere else. You're just taking tax advantage of those tax benefits along the way. Yes, sir. So the question is, does a Roth IRA have compound interest? There is a difference between the account you choose, which gives you tax benefits, and then what you invest that money in. And I know I'm at time, so if you do need to get up and go, please feel free to do so. For those of you who want to stay, again, I'll be here as long as you want, all the way up to 7:49. You choose what account you want, whether a regular account, pre-tax account, or a Roth account, and then you make a decision once you put the money in the account, what you invested in. So those are actually 2 separate decisions. Put the money in the account, contribute to the Roth, and then decide if it's an employer plan of what they offer, and usually it's a bunch of mutual funds, which ones do I want to invest in? So they're actually 2 separate things. And potential growth comes from whatever you decide to invest in. Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
How long did it take you to get your CFA? And is there like anything like you could do before that to like prepare to go?
So the question is, how long did it take me to get my CFP? It took me about 2 years, which is a little on the light side. My secret weapon was the fact that my wife was working on her PhD at the time. So we'd get up on a Saturday morning, cleaning service had taken care of the house, so we didn't have to worry about that. But she'd say, honey, I love you, I'm going into the basement to study, I'll see you in 10 hours. Okay, I gotta find something to do for 10 hours. I know, I'll go study for the CFP. Now, having worked at T. Rowe Price and having been interested in it, I had learned a bunch of it on my own. But as you all know, there's a big difference between learning a bunch about something on your own and actually getting a college degree from the University of Maryland College Park. Because when you're sitting in the interview and say, I have a degree from Maryland, that carries a lot of weight. If you're sitting in an interview and say, hey, I took a couple of classes and I read some online magazine articles, that doesn't carry as much weight. So I went for the CFP.
What's the best investment advice for like short term?
Best investment advice for the short term. If you are going to be using the money within 2 years, it goes in a savings account or a money market fund. You don't fuss with any of this bond stock stuff because there's short-term volatility, which is the word we use in the industry where we don't want to say you might lose money because we don't ever want to say that word. So we say volatility. And what we really mean is you might lose money. And if you need $10,000 to buy something and you show up with $9,000 to buy it, you're not going to be able to buy it. So if it's a really short period of time, you don't fuss with any of that stuff. It goes into savings account or money market fund. And then beyond that, that's when your mix of stocks and bonds starts coming in. So the farther out in time horizon you're going, the more in stocks you're going to have. That's the general idea. Yes, ma'am.
So for the Roth IRA, like my money's in there, but I just haven't invested it yet, and everyone's gonna say like, oh, it's fine because the stocks are down anyway. Would you recommend starting now, even though the stocks are like going down, like consistently, or would you want to recommend it today?
Thank you for asking the question. I was waiting for somebody to ask. Okay, if I'm going to be investing money, the stock market's been going down lately. Should I do it now, or should I wait? Unfortunately, a lot of people have left, but let me try. Is there anybody here from Southern California? All right, anybody here from the Southwest United States? California, Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, Texas. It's from the East Coast. You're not working. All right, here we go. Tell me your name. Kayla. All right. Kayla, you have a friend in Southern California. They live in San Diego. It's summertime. You call them up and say, I'm coming for a visit. I'm going to get on the airplane. I'm on the airplane for 3,000 miles. When I get there, what's the weather going to be like in San Diego? And they're going to say, well, it's gorgeous. It's going to be 95 degrees, sunny the entire time you're here. So when you're packing for your trip to San Diego, you're going to put a t-shirt in there, you're going to put in flip-flops, bathing suit, sunscreen, stuff like that. So you go to BWI, you've got your luggage, you get on the airplane, the plane takes off, you're over West Virginia, you look out the window and you go, it's raining out there. And it turns out it's cold. It's like 50 degrees. I didn't pack an umbrella. I don't have a raincoat. I don't have a sweatshirt. Now, assuming you could do this, would you hit the flight attendant call button and say, is there any way you can get the pilot to land the plane so I can go out and get an umbrella and a raincoat and a sweatshirt? Would you do that? Why not? Kayla's shaking her head. No, I would not have them land the plane. Why would you not have them land the plane? It's raining out there. It's cold.
I don't think that they would.
But pretend they would, because you're Kayla. So if they would land the plane and let you go out and buy that stuff, would you do that? Probably not. And why would you not do that?
That's a lot to ask of people.
It's a lot to ask of people. And where are you going ultimately? When are you getting out of the airplane? In San Diego. What's it like in San Diego? It's nice and sunny. You don't need an umbrella in San Diego. What if you're over Colorado and you notice it's snowing? You ask them to land because you got to buy a pair of snowshoes because it's snowing? No, why not? Doesn't matter, I'm not getting out there. You guys are 30 to 40 years from using your retirement money. Is it a little rainy outside right now? Is there a little turbulence in the plane? Might there be a couple of snowflakes out there? Absolutely. But guess what? You're not getting out of the plane for 30 or 40 years. And one of the mistakes people make is, okay, I'm going to wait for the right exact time to do this. It's a video game, and I'm going to pick it. What happens in the stock market the next 3 weeks, or 3 months, or 3 years is irrelevant. You're not getting out of the airplane for 40 years. So the sooner you start, the more likely it is you'll have the potential gains. Start today. And if it goes down for a while, so what? My daughter has lost money in the IRA she opened up. She is 17 years old. It is going to be 50 years before she gets out of the airplane. We're both shrugging our shoulders at, okay, yeah, you lost a couple of bucks right now, but guess what? 50 years from now, very different. One quick more story on that. I appreciate you guys indulging me. I used to go around the state of Maryland and talk to people about saving the 529 plan. So that's the plan that gives you tax benefits for saving for your kids' college education. So I got a question similar to that, and people were asking, well, do I do this plan or that plan? How do I invest the money? I'll never forget, there was a guy sitting in the back, left-hand side, who suddenly slams his fist down on the table. I'm like, oh my God, he's getting aggressive. Before I turns around and looks at him, let me tell you people something. I was here listening to this exact same presentation 1 year ago, and I was so worried about if I'm investing at the right time, and do I have the exact right account, and I was so worried about making mistakes, I did nothing. And here it is a year later. I've lost a year's worth of potential growth. I've lost a year's worth of savings. My child is a year closer to going to college, and the account balance we have right now is still 0. Don't make that mistake. Get started, keep contributing. You're not getting out of the airplane for 30 or 40 years. Thank you for indulging me. Other questions? Yes?
What are some like tips, maybe even like direction you could point me in for like actually identifying your financial plans in terms of investing?
So, are there tips or somewhere I can point you for a financial plan for investing? How do I put an investment plan together? Is that what you're asking?
Or define your personal goals with it.
Personal goals. There are a lot of websites. Tira has some. Large financial organizations will have some. But the way you're thinking is the way to think about it. It's not just, I'm going to go pick an investment. I'm going to start with what my plans are. And here's what I want. Here's how much it's going to cost. Here's what I want to buy it. You start putting that plan together, you're in a position to make those trade-offs. So do an online search. It doesn't have to be perfect. They'll just give you an idea of doing some of those calculations. How much do I need to save for retirement? How much do I need to save for a house or a spring break vacation? And that'll get you started. But where you're starting is the way to do it. What's my overall plan? Not, okay, give me a quick investment tip so I can make some quick cash. And a neighbor once, every time we saw each other. So yeah, I just want to make some quick cash. I'll make some quick cash. I'm like, go buy a lottery ticket, except you'll lose. That's the way they're designed. But this is about figuring out what your plans are, or your goals are, and an overall strategic plan together to make it. It's not about trying to identify hot stock tips. So I appreciate you for that question. Except for buying stock and whoever makes these things. How many got non-principal stocks? Anybody else? In the back. What's the difference between a Roth account, whether it's an IRA or 401k, and a traditional account? So the way they work is, if you use a traditional account, when you make the contribution to the account, you don't include the contribution in your taxes that year. So you get a tax benefit on the contribution. And then when you take the money out at the other end, you pay taxes on the entire withdrawal. With a Roth, you don't get a tax benefit on the front end. The money you contribute is included in that year's taxable income. But then, if you make qualified withdrawals, no matter how much it rose to, when you make the withdrawal at the other end, if it's a qualified withdrawal, you pay no taxes on any of the money you took out. And especially early in your career, when you're in a low tax bracket, You want to pick the one that says you don't pay taxes, you pay taxes on it now because you're in a low tax bracket, and then later on in life, when you make the withdrawal and there's potentially a whole lot more money in it, that's where you want the tax benefit to come in. That's what the Roth does. The pre-tax does it the other way. It'll give you the tax benefit early on, but then tax you on every dime you take out once you get to retirement. What else? Yes, sir.
That 15% figure, does that come after, let's say you account for rent? So is that out of your spending money or just headroom?
So the question is, the 15% is said save for retirement. Does that come out after my rent money? It is, what do you earn? What is your gross salary? And it's 15% of that number. So just like you have a bucket that goes to housing, and a bucket that goes to transportation, and a bucket that goes to coffee, and a bucket that goes to going out with friends on Friday night, you get a bucket that's labeled 15%, and it goes to retirement. And you make all the other stuff work to allow that to happen. What else? Last one.
Why would you say 15% is like the right percentage for most people?
Because we've done a whole bunch of math in a spreadsheet and made some assumptions. See, the other answer used to be, it depends. How many of you, when you ask a question of your professor and they say, well, it depends. How do you feel when you get that answer? What answer do you really want? What are you going to put on the exam so I know what to write down? So we went out and said, okay, instead of saying it depends, which conveys zero information and gives people nothing to do, let's pick a number. And the number based on a whole bunch of assumptions is 15%. The reality is if you start really early, like when you graduate, that percentage is actually a little bit lower. For people who start later on in life, it's actually a little higher. It's a reasonable assumption for most people in most situations. If I know nothing about you, and I just have to, I got to give you one number, that's the number. But then you go find the planning stuff online and the calculators, and you put in your own information, and it'll tell you, okay, maybe it's a little bit lower, maybe it's a little bit higher. The answer is not zero. And that's what a lot of people end up with. They're like, oh my gosh, I just graduated college, I got student loan debt, I'm trying to buy a house and move to the new city, and they're all this whole set of, I'm going to call them excuses as to why I can't save for retirement yet. As if somehow the laws of physics don't apply. Well, if I have student loan debt, it's okay for me to wait. The math is still the math. And then what happens, and this is somebody else who's in an orientation at T-Row, when people go, well, I got this, I got that, and she started pounding on the table. Maybe it's me, people pound on the table around me. And she said, okay, and then here's what happens. You get yourself established, and then you meet somebody, and you really like them. And you're like, okay, well now I'm saving for the honeymoon, and we're planning the wedding, so I can't possibly start saving for retirement yet, because I gotta get all that stuff done. And then you get married, and you're like, oh, well now I want to buy a house. So we got to save up for the down payment, make sure we have enough money for the house, and then you get the house, and you're like, we want to have kids. So, okay, the kids are born, now I've got all the expense associated with the kids, and maybe I got to save for college. And she was describing her own experience, and she said, and here I am, 53 years old, and I haven't started saving for retirement yet. Because I had all these reasons as to why I couldn't do it yet. And now I know really what this means. I'm going to have to work till I'm 80, which really isn't realistic. So make it part of the budget right from the beginning. Not zero. If it's not necessarily 15 for you, go for 12. But the earlier you start, the less money it is all along the way. So I will actually stay here and answer more questions individually. You guys have been great. Mary, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.